Hi, I'm ThaMango, and over the past 7 years I've built hundreds of Minecraft builds, if not thousands. But today I'm going to be showing you the 11 biggest builds that I've ever created. Some of these builds I never put on YouTube, and so you've probably never seen them before. I'm currently waiting on some files to be sent to me before I can work on my next big video, so make sure to stay tuned for that very soon. Also, a heads up, these builds are in no particular order. Anyway, let's begin. The first build I want to show you is Color City. This build probably means more to me out of any build I've ever created. I built this about 4 years ago for my marketplace team Odyssey Builds, and this was our first ever marketplace map that we worked on once we got partnered. It's essentially a huge city mashup pack that came with a resource pack, skins, and this huge city which I built alone. The only thing I didn't build was this statue in the center, which one of my friends created. Overall, this build took me about 3 months to create, and it's absolutely huge. I think it's about 1.8 by 1.8 thousand blocks in size. It's big. There are quite a few key locations to explore, like the Grand Hall in the center, the pier with this fun roller coaster, the zoo, and this huge paint factory. The whole city has this bright, colourful theme, seeing as players are also able to paint it with paintbrushes in the custom world. While it's not the biggest build I've ever made, it's for sure the most vibrant and colourful. I think it's also just the most nostalgic build to me, and I don't think anything will ever top this. Moving on, we have the Emerald Kingdom. A video of building this is actually on my YouTube, but I made it a while ago and the audio is terrible, so most of you probably haven't seen it. When I built this, I was going through a weird phase of building with strange blocks, like diamond blocks, which you'll see a bit later, and dirt blocks. I still think the emeralds look great though on the rooftops. There isn't too much story behind this build, but it did take about 2 months to build, as I wanted to really pack it with unique areas to explore. Behind these 2 big fountains is the theatre building, which is probably the biggest build in the kingdom. I decided to add in some grand interior inside so players can put on their own play. I don't know why I did this though, as nowhere else in the kingdom actually has interior. I think that out of all of my big kingdoms, this might be my least favourite. However, I mean, it's still a good build, and I haven't made many big kingdoms, so saying it's my least favourite of them doesn't mean too much. Now this is a completely different kind of world. This is Venture Water Park. This was once again meant to be for a marketplace project, however it got scrapped and I've never actually posted this world anywhere, despite building it around 3 years ago. We did get some cool key art made though of the world, which I'll put up on the screen at some point if I remember. This water park is pretty huge, and was meant to be realistic in design. It includes a bunch of different slides, including this iconic funnel slide. There are also lots of shops and restaurants to visit. The world does look a bit empty though, because it was originally meant to be filled with lots of custom models, like golf carts and stacks of tires for the slides, but development never got that far. Seeing as I never actually posted this on the marketplace, I'll post a free download of the world for Java Edition in my Discord server, so if you want to check it out for yourself, you're more than welcome to. There will be a link to join in a pinned comment below. Now if you're subscribed to me, then you've probably seen this build before, but this is my Greek kingdom. This is probably one of the top 3 biggest builds I've ever made in terms of scale, as it's just insanely big. Surprisingly, unlike a lot of the other builds on this list, this build only took me about a week to create. However, I was pretty much non-stop building that entire week. I still can't believe it only took a week though whenever I look back at it. I don't want to get too into describing this build as I only just posted a video of it a month ago, which I'd highly recommend checking out if you haven't already. But yeah, I really like this build and plan to make it even bigger very soon, so make sure you subscribe so you don't miss that. This next build probably isn't the biggest in scale, however when I made it, it was probably the biggest thing I'd ever done in Minecraft. This is Tower Vale. If you're not aware, Tower Vale is a book written by Patrick Carman, and he basically reached out to my build team back in the time to remake this world from his book in Minecraft. You'd be able to explore the world while you read the book to find secrets, and unlock the next chapters. Patrick was so nice to work with, and this was such a monumentous project for me at the time. I didn't build the entire thing alone though, instead we had a huge team of builders working on this. I mostly worked on this cool area that has giant terrain spikes, as well as this floating village and a bunch of interiors, including inside the main tower. Another big person I had the honor of working with was Beijing Canadian. This build was made quite a few years ago, but it was essentially a warzone area for his server back at the time, Skybounds. This huge warzone included loads of different areas to explore, with different themes including a Nether themed area, a jungle zone, and a winter district. This was a very big PvP map, and it was all located on flying islands. My friend Spyo helped to create the terrain for this giant build, and then my other friend Torza helped me to create the houses and the interiors, seeing as there was way too much work for one person to make in the deadline. I also got to work with another great YouTuber called Jack Sucks at Life to work on a big hub for his old server, but sadly I don't have the world download for it, so I can't really show it to you. Hopefully I can find an image of it though to put on the screen. And now, going back to builds which are just huge in scale, this is Glacia Industries. This is probably the most amount of time I've ever spent on one build, due to the insane amount of detailing that all of the buildings have. This world is based around this giant frozen factory, built in the middle of an Arctic wasteland. Right next to the factory, you'll find loads of roads connecting it to small housing, where all of the workers live. All of these houses in the city have full interior, and each tells its own story, like this car shop and this very detailed police station. In case one factory wasn't enough, there's even this second factory located right at the back of the map, connected by a big highway. I think this must have taken around 3 months to build. I made this around 4 years ago, and so for a very long time, this was my favorite build I'd ever created. And now another build which is just insanely big is this huge city, named the City of Mythal. This huge kingdom is centered around a central palace, with a huge tree sprouting out the top of it. From here, there are loads of different pathways coming out of the palace, over the top of the houses below. Because of this layout, you can get amazing views of the tree and the palace from any house in the kingdom. This was a really odd build to create, as I didn't really know what I was doing. Not that I normally do when working on a build, but especially for this build, I just kinda kept adding small random things, but it came together really well in the end. Building this was actually one of my first few YouTube videos, as I time-lapsed building the entire thing. It was one of my first videos to actually do decently well, and so I don't think I'll ever forget it for that reason alone. My most successful time-lapse video back at the start of my channel though, was for this giant emerald palace. This palace is absolutely huge, towering in at over 380 blocks in height. It's built using over 10 million blocks and just looks absolutely dominating on the landscape. This was my first build I made using the new 1.18 height limit changes, and so if you can't tell, I really wanted to push them to their limits. This build also includes some really cool ruined statues around it, which my friend Bob Geem made. They really help to just give some scale to the huge palace behind them. I didn't want to add too many builds like this into the list where it's all focused around one structure. However, I also made a 380 block tall temple, a 380 block tall pyramid, and this 380 block tall diamond temple, which I thought I should at least mention. I also made this absolutely giant portal which uses the height limit changes. Most people don't know I built it though, as some people stole it for their thumbnails. Another giant nether portal I created is featured in this build, which is my giant nether punk city. For a long time I was too scared to try and make a cyberpunk build, as I'm not great with sci-fi, but I decided to just face my fears and give it a go, and the end result was this giant city. This build is located on the moon, with the giant portal being the main way to transport from the main world to this city. Because of this, there's a huge highway coming out the portal with a ton of cars. There are loads of apartment buildings all around to cater for the huge population living on this planet. I think my favourite thing about this build though, other than the giant portal, has to be the big mining machine located right at the back, or the blaze hologram in the sky that my friend Bob Geem created for me. For one of my first attempts at cyberpunk, I'm quite happy with how it came together. However, I'm not rushing to create another cyberpunk build anytime soon. And for the final build in this list, this is my City of Temples. This Aztec city includes 3 large temples and a ton of houses all around them. In total, this build was made using over 115 million blocks and took me 1 to 2 weeks to create. My favourite part of this build though is the location, as it's built on the coast of a mountainous area created by my friend Freya. You can get amazing views of the houses and the temples as you ride a boat up to the docks, and the city is built on so many different height levels that you can get such great views of the terrain. While this isn't my biggest build that I've ever made, it's certainly one of my favourites just because of the location and different areas to explore. And with that, I'm going to leave the list there. I've got plans to make some even bigger builds than any of these over the next few months, so make sure you subscribe so you don't miss them. Please do consider liking the video and make sure to comment telling me what build was your favourite and what you'd like to see me build in the future. Thank you for watching, goodbye.